Yeah, see if anyone else left it.
Over there.
Nope.
Just make a little service.
You could use those voices.
Can you leave it? If it records, it's probably when we like post the video or just
This is like, it really is like a
different levels and everything.
Yeah, no, that's not it. It's like
Caddy's is like a little peak right here.
yeah, you need to do what you did. Like, see.
My throat died.
When did it die? Was your goal to not die?
I couldn't even survive the first
Why
night.
is that? But you're plugged in.
Yeah, when I'm plugged in, it works very, very well.
Okay, so I'll refresh. What is refresh?
Oh, I think you guys are having issues. Oh, that's us.
Wow, that's super
that's
loud.
You.
One watching.
Wait,
Nice. What is that?
so how do we get the questions though?
They can comment here, I think.
Like that.
Yeah. I don't know who it is though.
Okay.
Good question, whoever you are.
Reviewers. Someone's us.
Okay, guys. So whoever's there at the YouTube link, there's comments on the bottom. We'll answer questions in the comments.
What are you drawing? I don't know.
I'm just putting text that says like ask questions. People know what YT is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Cool. All right, I think we're ready. I think that's
We
clear
got
enough.
5 viewers.
oh.
Hello, everybody.
Do we have to refresh this, or does it automatically
I don't know. Good question.
Very good question. We.
Look at the notification about.
Someone shared our video.
That is the writing. I don't want it white.
That's a significant edge. It's okay, as long as the comments are updating right away. So that nobody is asking me. Can you help me do my homework? Who is this?
No.
Fuck you.
Whoa, we're live, bro.
That's only recorded.
Yeah, disregard that.
That's not just our president.
Wait.
This is what we want to change next year. Professional.
I'm actually more worried.
I think that's how I'm going to refresh. Hopefully I don't want to refresh the whole video. But no questions yet.
We're gonna edit this anyway.
Are we even going?
It goes straight onto YouTube.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
no. I'm sure there's some kind of like video tool for
Yeah.
maybe mute out a part in YouTube, but
Gotta be.
Oh.
What's your homework? Don't take a minute for them.
Yeah.
and my like home screen Google Chrome, and you need F11 to get out of it.
Oh.
And so now I'm like stuck in full screen.
Oh, there's no other option.
No. Mr. Asian 13.
Oh, that's Dustin.
You kiss your mother with that, Mel? Yeah, Danny. Should we wait for Walker or Dustin? Dustin, you may ask your questions whenever you like, and we'll answer it. I feel like I'm not speaking loud. Wait, I think I am. Okay, yeah, if you guys have any questions, go for it, ask it, and we will answer, and then, okay.
Wow.
Ah.
Hi, Pla asks, hi, what is a contingency plan for the next e-board for vision and goals to work towards? Okay.
Well, we've discussed a little bit so far, but it's definitely something that we want to touch on for a while. For starters, we want to establish ourselves as a nonprofit. We can actually, be recognized as an organization. Eventually, we can add, Nevada and New Mexico to our lovely family. We do want to work on marketing, though. That's something that I think that is a little weak that we've done this year. We've mainly just relied on social media and word of mouth, but these folks really did all the Facebooking and whatnot. But that's something we want to work on eventually. As far as goals, we wanted to wait to see if who our next e-board would be, and whoever that may be, we want to discuss and see where they're situated, and hopefully we can, influence them and see what our goals will be later on. This will be a communicative effort, so it just won't be one goal, but it will be a list of goals in which we will start out. But to start out, it will definitely be the nonprofit and Nevada, New Mexico, as well as maintaining our current BSA family within our region. Someone that we tried to reach out last year was Regis's ASA, but they kind of bailed. So we might start that again too, but that's it on my end. I don't know if my VP, IT, or treasurer have anything to add, but
I think you covered most of it.
that's it.
Answer the question again.
What is a contingency plan for the next e-board for vision and goals?
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, that's the other question.
I would also like to see Southwest more organized as a whole and have a more streamlined and consistent look and feel in terms of the way that we execute our events and our marketing, like Danny was saying, and just really promoting ourselves as a region, not only to other regions but to the schools within our region as well, just so that they all know who we are, especially the people out of state who we haven't been in contact with as long. So that not only their officers know who we are, but their members do as well, and really having a presence there.
I think also something would be, since we just laid down the foundation for the COSAR, the representative group that we're trying to get started, we just started that last year. And since we were in the process of adding Arizona and Utah, we didn't really have much time to really utilize it. Something we want to get going full throttle would be that committee, so that we can probably better get the word out. One way we want to do that is simply through communication. So as long as we can relay information to the representatives can respectively go back to their own organizations and relay information that is relevant to their region or their organization, whatever Southwest would be. Nabi, I'm sorry, I have a very
Let's see. All right, we have a new question.
Again, it's from Swuvsa. It's from Swuvsa, and she asks, how have the positions, titles, responsibilities changed?
I don't think they changed much at all. If anything, we're adding historian responsibilities to the secretary position. So since we are a growing region and we're starting to get big, we want to record everything that goes on in our region. So as such, we're adding that to the secretary position. Other than that, everything should still be the same.
And like by historian, he means like kind of just like all the events that are going on. Like the historian will really document that, like pictures, like video, all that kind of stuff. And for the most part, like that's the biggest change to any of the positions.
And let us know if we should speak louder or more clearly. Please, the computer is kind of farther away, so that might be the reason why. And Jenny is on her way.
So do we have anything else to add to the positions?
Well, comparatively, when we were younger, or at least when we were just starting off, the roles were very minimalistic. I remember my role as treasurer wasn't really that big, because we had no budget. But finally, when we actually have the ball rolling, the responsibilities and the duties of each office are already intact. It's just that this year we actually have something to do for each and every individual. Not only that, but whenever we had group activities or group events, we tried to make it more mainstream in that everybody has to contribute. So in counteracting the whole, officer titles and whatnot, we try to make it more of a community. And so we didn't really restrict one person to one role. We kind of just said whoever feels comfortable should do it, and it seemed to function just as fine as long as there was communication.
Jeannie asks, if you had more time and money, what would you have liked to accomplish during your term?
It sounds like an individual question. But I think what I would have liked to accomplish more was establish that connection with Nevada and Mexico along with Arizona and Utah. Like it's great that we do have two new states, but I felt like if we were able to get our entire region, that would have been awesome. But it would be a little ambitious. And then I would love to have more regional events too, like where each school from each state could like meet somewhere and have some kind of big regional event. But I think that's further into the future. I think that's all I kind of really wish to do with extra time and money.
Tina had a really good idea about making like this sponsorship type deal thing that we don't really have a title for it, but I think he took it from someone else, right? Like it was like a scholarship to sponsor someone to go to.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we had more money, it'd be something, an idea similar to the Visionary Scholarship for UNASA, but just like an alumni scholarship or like a Southwest scholarship where maybe one person from each school or each state gets at least the registration page to go to UNASA. They would just submit an application and something like that. So if we had more money, I think that would be something really beneficial to do, especially since I know money is a big factor for a lot of people that keeps them from going to conference. Another thing I would have liked to do during this term, if I had more time especially, is be there physically for all the VSAs, have this physical presence. If we had been able to connect to Utah and Arizona earlier, then maybe travel out there and show them and their members that we support them as an executive board and as a region, because prior to this year, it was only Colorado, so it was a lot easier for us to drive maybe 30, 40 minutes to Boulder or UCD or DU, whereas, Utah's an 8-hour drive, Arizona's like a 16-hour drive. That's a little bit harder to do.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
One of my personal things was really the nonprofit status. I really like worked hard to try to get that this year, but unfortunately there's a pretty hefty like monetary barrier in that, and so like that was one of the biggest things, and it is pretty a time consuming process as well. And so basically I kind of just wasn't able to do it this year, but it was something I would have liked to have done.
I just saw a question, but then it seems like it's okay. Okay, Jeannie asked, are we considered as a nonprofit, and if no, what is the progression of the plan? Jesse kind of answered your question.
Yeah. Currently, we kind of do classify ourselves as a nonprofit. Like that's how we operate. We operate as a nonprofit. However, along with nonprofit, there's a lot of like when you actually file with the government, there's a lot of tax involved with it, and you kind of become more of a business, and you become more of a very official type thing. Unfortunately, like one of the things is a lot of nonprofits still do bring in money, and the thing is we don't have like a steady source of like raising money through our nonprofit. But the plan is to most likely in this next year, with some work, it is highly possible that we will be able to get that status with the government, and then from there we can grow a lot more. And that's about the progression that we have with it.
Okay, so 2 asks, as either IVP or EVP, are we automatically in the core for UNASA? I'm also confused about what core is overall. Is it related to Southwest position? So I think as our main core rep, you probably have the best answer.
Yeah, so core, as you may or may not know, stands for the Council of Regional Representatives. It is a part of UNAPSA, and we, as EVP or IVP for Southwest, yes, you are automatically in the core position. So core consists of basically a representative or two from each of the regions affiliated with UNAPSA. They act as kind of the executive board in a way for UNAPSA. Like the UNAPSA executive board has their voting within their organization, but they also get input from core. And as each region, core votes on things such as like where conference will be, policy changes. This past year, UNAPSA voted on a vision. Was it a vision or a mission statement?
I do not know.
One of the two, and core was able to vote on that. And we also had bi-weekly meetings with UNAPSA, IVP, and the rest of core, just to give updates on the region, things that are going on, and also to kind of discuss things with each other and support one another within each of the regions and whatnot. So I hope that answered your question.
Also, yes, among our e-board, both the IVP and the EVP are a part, like automatically part of core.
Okay, so Kwa asks, where would the regional event be held? A lot of the big events are in Boulder, and I know that Denver wants to do an event, but it's scared to step on toes. What I'm trying to ask is, how are you guys going to organize bigger events statewide? So, this is more, I guess it's kind of aimed towards me since I said it, but this definitely has a lot to do with the whole nonprofit status as well as our financial standing. These events would have to be somewhere like somewhat central to our region, and these events could be anywhere from like any social event, or like it's just maybe some kind of leadership retreat or even summit, even like maybe just like a small get together kind of thing. This can be held anywhere. Really, if we want to hold it at a campus, we would of course ask one of the campuses, if they can get granted permission, some kind of space. But yeah, it's really, at least for me, they would have been pretty much all reliant on that, depending on what event I would want to throw, as well as how many people want to go, and then where it would be. But yeah, I think as far as holding regional events, that would definitely be up to the next e-board where they want to do it and all that. But it'd probably be easier to have it at a campus just because that's probably going to be free. And we would say, I don't know where I'm going with this. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, please let me know or reflect upon it. And Qua also tells Jesse,
It's just about the non-profit stuff. Yeah.
that Hop would assist us with non-profit. Okay. Alrighty.
It would definitely help us. I just gave him my t-shirt.
Oh, here it is. Okay. Dustin asks, what were some struggles that you all faced during your guys' term? And what are some things that the next e-board should do in order to avoid past mistakes?
You wanna?
Let's see here. Issues that we personally face, like ourselves as an e-board, I don't think we had any issues amongst each other. It's just really dealing with all the VSAs that want what they want, finding what it is that everybody wants. Before, at least before this year, we didn't really have a clear line of communication with everyone. Something that was very evident, but it kind of went unnoticed because they kind of kept everything together, was DU. DU VSA actually did quite a bit this year. However, since they were under stress within themselves, they really didn't support other VSAs as much as they could. With that said, it kind of goes both ways in that sense, in that no one really came out for their event. But even still, we try to make it streamlined so that we can appease everyone, so that everyone can be, at least in the same aspect or in the same page as we are when we put together events, or whenever a certain group like DU's groups doing their own group event, and then Boulder's doing their event. We want to make sure that it gets done, like it works, and whatever help that they need, we are here to help them. The only issue was we didn't really know when they needed help. So that's why we kind of made it, or at least we tried to make it more clear and make us more transparent. Make it so that we aren't really there to antagonize anyone, not there as authoritative figures or anything. We are merely representatives. And that's something that I guess a lot of folks don't really grasp fully. I still get people, or at least I still meet folks from like around our region who just come up to me and they're like, I really wanted to speak to you, but I feel a little like it's kind of hard to approach you, and I don't know what that may be. For whatever reason it was, we try to make it clear that you guys can approach us, and that's something that we faced. Sorry.
I'm just kidding.
One of my issues is, again, like just kind of with the funding, is that like since we have so very little, it's for us like officers, it's kind of a little bit out of pocket, and as like college students, sometimes that gets a little bit tough. And like just sometimes wanting to do events, but just having that huge like monetary blocker in the way, it was just kind of frustrating. But it's something that you like as a new e-board would have to know, is that like that is one of the biggest struggles that we as Southwest have, is just the money. And so it's something to really try to knock out early in the year.
So in terms of solving these issues, we want everybody to know that we are broke, but we're trying to do as much as we can within our resources to resolve these issues or prevent these issues from occurring all the way, or like all the time. And also communication, so that we have a perfect line of communication so that there's no discrepancies.
Oleon asks if nonprofit status is a thing yet and if public funding is possible. You probably weren't here for the earlier part of the stream or discussion, but we have not
attained the 501c3 status.
Mm-hmm.
And primarily, like I can pass on the knowledge of what I've researched over the year, as well as if I can pass on connections that I've made in order to do so. It's a very possible thing for the next e-board to do, and something that like I think should be one of the primary goals.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty much in agreement here that we would like to see the next e-board at the very least apply for nonprofit status. Okay, so Jeannie asks, what is the one advice you would give to your future e-board per position if possible, if not done?
So I guess the best way to answer this question is each of us give an example to our future counterpart. So for me, if I were to speak to my future president, I just want to make sure that everybody's talking to each other. That's all I really want. As long as everybody's talking to each other, that's it. That's where you can get things done. And as long as everybody's communicating, I don't really see any real issues. Now, if there is, then that's amongst themselves to work out. But that's my opinion.
As far as IVP goes, I would just say that, like the president says, keep the communication going. You are kind of the liaison between your e-board and the school. So as long as you maintain that communication, make sure everybody's on the same page and you help each other out, then you're golden.
For EVP, I would say almost like the same thing. Really, you are in communication with not only your e-board, but like other core representatives, people from outside of the organization, and UNASA, ideally in community organizations as well, and just really keep that information that you're giving out to other people and what you're learning from those other external sources, really communicating that with your team so that you can best utilize that knowledge to help build Southwest.
The advice I'd give to treasurer is just like really know what you're trying to do. Stay focused on one task, and also really, like as with any treasurer position, really try to stay organized. If you lose your organization, you're going to be all sorts of confused. But especially since as we're growing, there's going to be a lot more funding that you're going to have to deal with. Like the bank account and the PayPal are something that like gets very confusing sometimes. And like you really just try to stay on top of that. Don't be afraid to go into like the bank and like talk to the bankers because they will help you out tremendously.
And then for the secretary position, I would say just kind of make sure you're on top of everything, like everyone has said, because you're pretty much the one that keeps records on every meeting, and you're pretty much the one that keeps track of our meeting minutes and stuff. And I would say also kind of remember when meetings are, just so that you can send out a reminder text or something to the rest of the board.
For IT, I would just say, for IT, I would say just to really try to help everybody else. As IT, you don't do much aside from maintaining, the website, which I already did, but I'm really bad at updating it because I don't know how to write things. So yeah, you could use the website more, make it more known. You can also put resources on there. You could do so much with it. That's what I would just recommend, is just do your little part and also use your skill sets to help these guys out whenever they need.
Okay. 2 asks, in a week's time, how much would you estimate that each of your positions require you to dedicate? I think collectively we ask for at least an hour or two for our weekly meeting. And then if we have some kind of event like our summer bash or our retreat, of course, that would require more time with maybe another hour or two on a different day. But usually, I would say on average, maybe about an hour or two a week, just to communicate with one another, get to know each other.
Dustin?
Yes, this is Dustin.
Okay. With the possible plan of bringing Nevada and New Mexico into the region this year, is it likely that extra manpower is going to be needed, i.e. expanding the e-board? I think that is entirely possible. Like Danny was saying earlier, we did implement a system that we didn't utilize fully this year, which was the Council of School Representatives, where we had 1 or 2 representatives from each school in as like a kind of reflection of the core with UNAPA. Did I say school? Okay. So in that sense, that's how we would like to stay connected with each of the schools. We also have junior officer positions with our e-board. This year we did not have any junior officers officially, but that is definitely a possibility if people are interested in the junior officer position to talk to us or the new e-board about becoming a part of that.
Okay. TK asks, as Southwest Core, have you started to construct a plan to keep other states involved? With such high turnover for the board positions, hopes, dreams, and visions tend to fall to the wayside. Has this year's board implemented anything to maintain the continuity? So this year we started kind of like a mini core. We call it the Council of School Representatives, or COSAR, whatever. And our aim for that is to have 1 school rep from each school in our region, and then communicate through a group meet for now. That's what we did our first year. Next year is all up to the next e-board to continue however they want, but we did start COSAR in order to communicate amongst each other, since we are one of the biggest regions by area. So the communication is important.
Along with passing on like the hopes and dreams and visions, we are planning on implementing a board of advisors that is to come for the coming years, that will be implemented this year, and that will really try to like be there to kind of maintain the continuity with the high turnover rate of officers.
Anybody want to expand on that if you have any?
Yeah, and he really knows more about the board of advisors.
Oh, well, we're still working out the kinks with the Board of Advisors, but that would be something to act as a system of checks and balances for the e-board and for essentially all the alums and all the previously held executive officers, in which they can have a voice, if you will. Up to this point, we've basically, or at least not necessarily categorized people in groups, but there's supporters of Southwest, supporters of VSA. As long as they're affiliated with each school, or each respective school, they're considered part of that VSA, and collectively they are part of Southwest. Well, what about the folks that aren't in school, or who aren't really, they're not really affiliated with any VSAs? Hopefully, this is something that can alleviate, or at least, diminish some of those discrepancies.
Okay, so Tu's question kind of expands on the TK's. What would you, as an e-board, like for the new e-board to continue doing? Are you willing to allow change in some methods of execution, or would you prefer to maintain the continuity? So I think we're all in agreement that communication needs to continue for sure. I think that's really the only continuity per se that we would want. As far as everything else, like that's all up to the new e-board. Just as long as that communication stays.
And since our region is growing and continuously growing, it just means that we need to change along with that growth. If we look at history, if we look at world governments, for example, they've stagnated, and there's a reason for that. It's because they don't embrace reformation. So that's something that we really wanted to get across. Not one change is essential, but change itself is important.
And something to also continue doing is like really realize that we are still a very much growing region, and that we like you have to keep that in mind. That like, what can I do to make our region stronger? What can I do to make our region grow more? And like, because that's something that all of us this year had on our mind. And so we kind of like we operated with the process of like we really want to make ourselves stronger. And with that, I think if you maintain that, then you're on the right track.
And then two also asks, as a follow-up to my previous question, how much time as an e-board did you spend to just get to know each other, like going out, eating ice cream, etc.? I don't think we went out as much just because money is a big issue, but during our hangouts, they dragged on for a long time just because we kind of messed around with each other a lot. But I mean, like, in the end, we
getting very long.
Yeah, I tend to ramble. But no, we still have fun when we did, and when we were able to make time, we made the best of it. And unfortunately, it wasn't really evident for everyone to see. You know me, I don't really like to flaunt my really, really good friends and my team. But it's the dynamic that we influenced, and that's what we had with one another. It was good chemistry, and that's something that hopefully will continue to carry on. And to be honest, all this charisma and compassion that we gained was all. We didn't utilize anything that was different. We utilized everything that was at our disposal. What we had was definitely what we needed to make things happen.
I mean, yeah, it is really simple just to kind of hang out with your e-board. Like this year, we went to go like get dim sum, and we ended up like hanging out for like hours. We were like, yeah, we're going at this time. We like all didn't get home until 6 because we were like, oh, let's go to David Buster's. Oh, let's go to Lolita. And it's just like really know that like we're here. Like your other e-board members are like they're fine being friends with you. Like they're like I don't. It's not like they hate you or anything. So. And so yeah, just going out and like just it's a good way to get to know your e-board as well, if you are able to.
And it helps that a lot of us already knew each other to begin with as well. So that probably helps us along with our team synergy. But if everybody next year is like completely new to each other, then we would definitely recommend like going out, getting to know each other, like knowing how people operate, like if they're silly and stuff like that. And yeah, synergy is very important. Okay, no new questions right now. We can expand on a few questions.
I think we should go back to like how much time per position, because we kind of said like an hour per.
Okay.
I think just like with the time that you're like expected to commit, really it's not like you're not expected to do anything, but there are certain points in the year when we do have more events, and when the events come up, like that definitely like requires more time. There's also times when we're like very much like not involved, like we kind of like are much more laid back, and we don't like you're not like expected to spend as much time, because we all know that like first and foremost we're all students, and we all have our like, personal lives as well, and so like we're not expecting that you put in like 40 hours a week, but like when it comes down to it, there's sometimes when you really do need to kind of put your time, like sometimes like more time into it to make an event happen.
Well, to put things in perspective, we never really had like required set meetings every week. Like we didn't have a bi-weekly schedule or anything. We met at our leisure, at our own convenience, but at a time when we needed to. We knew there were things to be discussed, and depending on the priority of it, whether it be highest priority, low priority, or mid priority, we kind of adjusted to whatever it is that needed our attention most. And to put things into perspective, we met at a total of probably 22 meetings now, roughly about 22 meetings throughout the entire year, spread sporadically. There were some months where we met multiple times, and there was a dry spell when we only met once every 2 weeks. I think the longest dry period was like 3 weeks in which we kind of didn't meet for a while, but that's because we were still in communication with one another. We were always in communication, utilizing technology nowadays, especially with GroupMe. So that really helped make things transition better and getting our ideas across. But essentially, it's how you want your region to be. So, for example, if you are running for an e-board position next year and you don't know how to set up, or you don't know how much you should meet each year, well, depending on how much or energy you input is how our region will look as an output. So basically, how you guys commit to, or whoever commits to our region, we will see so results. Cause and effect.
I think also like with time, like I think the most time that any of us put in it was our road trip, and because that was like an entire week, like we used our entire spring break in order to road trip out there, and that's something that like I think would be really cool if we maintained from year to year. But again, like I'm not gonna say it's required because we did put a lot of time in that. That's like our entire spring break pretty much. And it is a lot to ask to commit, but I like personally, I say that was very valuable. Had some very valuable connections with that, and it did not like it was not a wasted week at all. Like none of the hours that you put into being in USA would consider being wasted at all.
On top of generally Southwest e-board duties, IVP and EVP are also on core. Like I said, they have bi-weekly meetings, which are generally about an hour long. Longer if you want to stay and hang out online with the other core representatives and just get to know them and stuff like that. But as core, another thing I forgot to mention earlier is that you are it's suggested that you be a part of one of the committees that works on the Continental agenda items. So like this year I was part of the Leadership Development Committee. So yeah, there was like the Cultural Resources Committee, Current Events, Health Disparities, and the Leadership Development Committee. So all that content and material that is on VSA Academy, that was developed by CORE in the past 2 years. So that in itself is a time commitment as well.
Okay, 2 asks, if implemented, will the Board of Advisors have any final say in decisions of Southwest? Like maybe collectively they will be counted as one officer vote, or will they only be there as mentors? And who would be in charge of this task?
Well, like Danny was saying earlier, the Board of Advisors is still kind of in the works. I think I can speak for all of us when I say that we regard the opinions and the views of the alumni, our alumni, with a lot of respect, and we take their opinions into account. I don't think we ever really had to take any decisions to a vote, just because we would discuss it as a team and whatnot. Not to say that future this board will always choose to do it that way, but in that type of setting, we would take into account the opinions and thoughts of the Board of Advisors. As a hypothetical, if it had been in our thing this year. Does that make sense?
Also, the role of the Board of Advisors is kind of like it's a precautionary as well, because as e-board, like we worked very well together, but like you never know when something can go wrong and will like can and probably will revise. And they're kind of just there to be the mediators in case it's needed, and like kind of just like give advice. The board of advisors is they're there to give advice. Like as an e-board, you don't necessarily have to take it, but you like are strongly recommended to kind of take it into account.
And also the purpose of the Board of Advisors is a resource. That's the role of the Board of Advisors. And not only to the Southwest Unit VSA, but a resource to everyone within our region. So since, as Tina and Patrick stated earlier, they are, they're highly respected individuals that were very active in our community in their time. They definitely haven't gone away, and they definitely still care. And in that aspect, in that sense, we want to keep them around, and their opinions do matter, especially when they, at one point, were leaders themselves. And so, let's say, for example, someone from a VSA group within our region had an issue. Well, they can appeal to the Board of Advisors, and since they kind of have that higher respect, they might be able to get something going and resolve this issue before it turns. That's essentially what the Board of Advisors is. It's essentially a buffer or a way to counteract any future downfalls or any downturns.
And on that note, who would be in charge of this task? I would say, I think the Board of Advisors should probably delegate either president or like tell things to president or IVP as the main liaison.
Well, in at least discussing so far, the Board of Advisors itself has no leader itself. Like they don't really do it. Like they have no power, is what I mean. So there's no reason to essentially rally them up under one leader to give opinions, because they're all collectively leaders themselves, and they provide, I guess, counseling for all of us. But the Southwest UVSA e-board, they're still the ones who would make the executive orders, whereas the Board of Advisors, there's more of a conciliatory role.
Okay. Yeah. Qua asks, on a scale of 1 to 25, how stressful are all the positions compared to another VSA or UVSA e-board, and why?
This is a better towards you two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of us have not been on previous VSA boards, so hard to compare.
Yeah.
You can go first if you have an answer.
I would say it's different. For me, the beginning of my term was more stressful because it was just getting used to working on a regional level as opposed to just at a school and core, so I guess national level too. But I would say at the beginning it was probably maybe like between 12 and 15 unstressful, and then as we got more comfortable with each other as a board and in our positions, that stress level got lower for me because I knew I could rely on everybody else on the board to do what needed to be done, and I was more comfortable in my position and what I needed to do and how I wanted to do it.
I guess compared to VSA, I think, yeah, they're like two different beasts, I feel like. But I think for me, for both VSA and UVSA, for me, they're like, on a scale of 1 to 25, around like 8 to 10 maybe. Just because my board for each of them, I trusted each and every one of them. And we worked as a team, and we worked one full unit. So for me individually, I don't think it was that stressful at all, aside from like bet show or our road trips, any like planning activities like that. But yeah, I think for me it was a pretty low stress level just because each of my teams were pretty amazing. So.
You're pretty amazing. Any other thoughts on that question?
Anybody else want to give their?
Yeah, you can still say a stress level for your individual, like for this year.
Yeah, personally, like, yeah, mine like my position, I didn't feel was very stressful. There were at some points like kind of trying to figure out like basically around the time when this like UNESCO was collecting CPP was like kind of where I was like, oh wow. So that's because personal things as well. But like just kind of the stress level is usually pretty low as long as you stay on top of it. If you're ever playing the catch up game, then yes, it's gonna be more like worse. But for the most part, our entire year we're pretty laid back, very able to focus on other things and not worry about UBSA too much.
Jenny or me?
My stress level was kind of normal. I mean, it was pretty low.
Yay.
But I'm pretty laid back, so. And if you just do your stuff on time, you get things done on time, you'll be perfectly fine. My stress level was also pretty low because I feel like if I wasn't able to do something, someone on the e-board would be able to cover me. So it's pretty much a big group effort. And all this kind of works where if one of us can't do something, the other one would be happy to fill, more than happy to fill it in.
Okay. This is Dustin, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay. Dustin asks, is Southwest planning on bringing in other Colorado schools into the mix this year? So we, year after year, we usually ask, try to maintain communication with the SU's VSA as well as the VSA in Regis, or the ASA in Regis. As far as them reciprocating it, it hasn't been very, it hasn't happened. But every year is a new e-board, so we're gonna keep trying. So.
And we don't know if there's any school or there's a VSA or BAFA out at like UCCS or Colorado College. So that's always, we're always looking on the school websites, on on Facebook and stuff like that, trying to reach out to those schools and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, that's like more or less. It's not as up to us. We as Southwest, we always like leave our door open, like kind of like have a hand out there, but it's more or less up to them to kind of reciprocate and kind of try to join in as well. But we're always open to other schools.
Okay. 2 asks, regarding elections, when will we find out who will be running for each specific position? Is it after the week of interviews? Could you maybe share the layout plan of the election? So it's all on our event page on Facebook. So at the end of the week, our application phase will be ending. So if you want to be running, please turn that application in by the end of the week. Interviews with candidates is all next week. So we will have a committee that will be conducting interviews that will consist of questions sent by you guys, which is also provided, I believe. Yeah, we say to ask questions on the event page. So if you have any specific questions you want the candidates to ask them all on our event page, or personally message one of us and we'll put that in. And then after the interviewing phase, we will go straight to the voting phase, August 30th to September 5th. And I think that's when you guys will get to see the applicants.
Yeah, just in regards to like fairness, we're not gonna reveal who's running for which position, just because like it kind of like, even though it does kind of like give you an idea of who you're running against, in case you do run, it's just like what we want you to do is run to the best of your ability and just like kind of show that you're like, don't really like aim to be like going against somebody else, aim to be the best you can be, instead of like trying to be like, I need to be better than this person. And that's what we're trying to really do there. And like just because in terms of fairness, it helps out as well. And so yeah, it'll be like we'll reveal it after the interviews, who's running for what, like when the voting phase.
Yeah.
During the voting phase.
And unlike this, where this is a live stream, voting will be, or the interviews will be between the elections committee and the applicant, or like the candidate, just because it would be unfair if one candidate were to interview before someone else who was running for the same position and whatnot. And yeah, so after the voting phase on September 5th, that's when it ends. That's when the elections committee will be tallying up all the votes. And the way that positions are determined are based on a popular vote as well as input from each of the schools. So, and they're going to be selected from in the order of IT, secretary, treasurer, EVP, IVP, and then president last. So.
Another thing I kind of want to tag on to that is just like among people that I have talked to that are running, it's just like there's a lot of talk of like I don't want to run against this person, I don't want to run against that person. It's just like if you think you're fit for a position, definitely just run for it regardless. Like it doesn't matter if you don't think you can beat that person because you never know. And like to like doubt yourself that much is like unfair to yourself as well. Like if you think you can do a position, run for it. Don't be like, oh, I know this person's running, so I'm not going to. You know, it's something that like if you're able, like yeah, I don't know what I was going to say. If you want to run for something, run for it. Don't worry about who else.
Yeah, it's like Nike, just do it.
Yeah, so long answer short, you will see all of the applicants August 30th. 2 is on fire.
Do we have any messages for?
No, just Jenny. Which I need to text her. Just be like, hey, you've been texting me long for the past 3 weeks.
How long have we been live? About 50 minutes? 45?
When has it been
I think we started around 8:35.
Ish. Did we?
Yeah.
Oh.
8:20, 8:35.
When were the first comments?
Oh, shoot. 56 minutes ago. Yeah, we've been on for about an hour.
Who was that?
I don't know who that is. Okay, so I think we'll keep this live stream up for about 5 or 10 more minutes.
Unless there's more questions.
Yeah. So ask away. We are here for you.
Do we have any questions kind of about Southwest in general, or I don't know?
Yeah.
I'm trying to like pull some more questions.
If there aren't any questions, we can just go into our flaws for this year and what we can improve for next year. Something that's well mentioned.
Yeah, there's only 4 viewers left. 5. Okay, there's one more.
Older VSA sent their love a while ago.
Oh, they did?
Yes, we did not forget you, Twee. We saw it.
Unless Twee's not in here anymore, but.
I will like it right now. I publicly voted up this comment.
Say that now?
You always do that.
I didn't know
I
that.
mean, when they added the
I've never liked a single thing in my life. So, Twee,
yeah, me either.
you're special. That was my very first like on YouTube.
I like
He'll
videos.
remember his first.
Oh.
Are there any questions on the Facebook event page?
Well, it would have given me a notification.
Yeah. But to everybody still hanging in there, just thanks for joining us, taking some time out of your day and asking questions.
Yeah, these are great questions.
This Q&A was experimental, and it is.
They were all great questions.
Yeah.
Oh. Hey, that's fun.
Okay, so Kwa asks, so I was looking at the application, and one of the stipulations is candidate cannot hold a current position on an executive board of an active VSA partnered with Southwest. Can you elaborate a little on this? So what we mean is, if you are an e-board officer for one of your VSAs at your school, then you cannot be running for Southwest.
So, unfortunately, you cannot.
And the reason for this is just to eliminate any sort of bias in terms of like communicating or making decision making and whatnot. Like I know this year we were all from Boulder, but
That was just a coincidence.
yeah.
legitimate.
Oh yeah, since it's lagging, he thinks we're leaving. Okay, yeah. So yeah, if you are a part of an e-board of a VSA at your school, you cannot run. Just yeah, it is to keep it simple.
It was a rule implemented a year or two ago, and it is to really just eliminate bias and like as well as like because VSA is pretty time like both of them are like do take an amount of time, and so just like in terms of workload, it helps.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm. So there are times when, like, individual VSAs are super busy. There are times when Southwest is super busy, and so that can be an issue as well.
Yeah, it's mainly just so that our board or the Southwest board can just like dedicate all their time on a Southwest and not their own individual VSA, because running for two different boards is a lot of work, and we need all the time that we need. Or yeah, you get it. Okay, so pros and cons about this. I think we definitely talked about pros. I think cons, I would say personally,
I think the biggest con, like with not allowing, we do kind of leave out some like capable leaders, but at the same time, Swuvsa does like it is. All of us are still students, but there's no requirement to be part of an e-board that you have to be a student. Actually, except for she has graduated, and exactly, it's like the Swuvsa reaches beyond just college, and so it like allows like you still have time to do it after you're done. So like you're not closed off to Swuvsa, and so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But any other cons to not allowing?
I think, let's see, another, I was going to say a pro, never mind.
You can say pro.
Another pro I was going to think about was like scheduling, because your own individual VSA may ask a lot of time out of you, and if that conflicts with Southwest, then that would be an issue just because, like, yeah, like priority, that's like a really big.
It's unfair to both organizations a little bit because you're splitting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And we wouldn't want to like foster or create any like ill will between the organizations, and especially not within VSAs and between VSA and Southwest and whatnot. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah.
Okay. Do we have any last minute questions? I will keep refreshing for you.
We'll give it another
30 seconds.
Okay. Jeannie asks, what are some events you would like to see in the future hosted by Southwest, like regional summits? Sorry if you already answered.
We kind of brushed over it, but I think that's one of our like a big goal that we want to do is to finally do like a leadership summit. Like, that would be huge. But any other events that you kind of wanted to do?
I mean, if it would be possible, it would be fun to host our summer bash in another state. But
or if anything, just make it bigger, like into like a more camping trip. Like I was looking at, I don't forget which region it is. They have another like they had a summer bash thing too. They were like camping out in a lake.
Yeah.
Delta. Yeah. Or no, it wasn't Camp Delta, but it was like just another summer extravaganza.
Yeah.
Oh,
Midwest like that. Yeah. I think that would be really great. Logistically, that takes a lot more planning than what we've been doing for summer bash. But I think if we were able to pull it off, if the future e-board is able to pull it off, then that could be a huge step for us in terms of building a more unified region with events that are.
I think our thing is like we would like to see the events that we currently have expand a little bit, and if people can come up with new events, that would be great too. Just one thing for like any board to keep in mind is that we don't include like it's easy to plan events around just Colorado schools. It's harder to plan events around our entire region. That's something our region, at our e-board kind of like really talked about after we added the two. Makes it a challenge, a hurdle to get over for the future.
Yeah.
But it is possible to overcome.
Surely.
Alrighty.
Should we give it to like 9:35 and awkwardly stay here for 5 minutes?
Okay.
Sure.
5 more minutes. I'll give you guys 5 more minutes if you have any last minute questions.
We'll just tag on 5 minutes like after we're done answering everybody's questions. So wait till the 5 minutes, post the questions.
Don't get them idea.
I'd do it.
You would all probably
I
do
would.
it.
Patrick could do it. Patrick could totally do it. I probably just think that.
Thank you again for everybody who hopped on and for all your questions. They're really great, and I hope that our answers were able to clarify things and help you get a better idea of what being on Southwest eBoard entails and what is some of the things that we would like to see in our region in the future.
I think if people have questions in the future, you can post it to the eBoard page as well, and we will answer it there.
Yeah.
We're all hosts of that event, and so we'll all kind of try to get to your questions.
Perfect. Finally.
These two will still have a week. Or actually, these 3 are done. These 2 have a week left. So I'm in school already.
Oh, it's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm touching out.
We'll give you a high five.
Okay. I'll hold you to it. I'm gonna hit you up and call you guys back. Yeah.
You just meet up. Yeah.
This could be dope. Yeah, I'm totally gonna do that. Just I don't know. I don't care where you are. I'm just like, what?
Well, that's one thing Danny wanted to do this year that we were never able to do. He wanted to make some propaganda.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
To the Heflo.
All hail.
And to be fair, it's a religion, not comedy.
Looking at you, Flaw.
The church.
Looking at you.
She's like not even there.
She might not be. It's
She'll see the live
11:30
stream.
over there.
Hey, we got a 5th watcher.
Is that
Who are you?
He went from 4 to 5.
It's going up and down.
Yeah.
3, 4, 5.
I think the most we had is like 9, 6. I don't know.
We weren't paying attention to how we watched it the whole time.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's all for me. Thanks, guys. You're welcome, Dustin.
Thank you, Dustin.
Mr. Asian 1-3.
Why did you say
XX never ending dream XX.
Because it's funny.
You too. Thank you for all the questions.
Yeah,
Even though
definitely.
that last
As well as Jeannie and Qua and Paul and
PK.
Hey, what was that one?
PK and what was that last name?
I never got that. That's big.
It's like a.
Brazilian.
It's like a.
It's like a meme.
It's a meme. There's
Yeah, it's a
Yeah. And Demi
Who
Fox.
are you?
Thank you for
Yeah.
off, I guess.
Who is?
I don't know, 1075 Delta was very quick onto our link.
And then they left.
Yeah.
They clearly know. I guess I chased them away.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Your foul
Hey,
language.
I don't want to do the. Okay, yeah. This is my Vietnamese rep.
Wait, who's in school already?
What?
You guys. The sorority campus, right?
ECDP.
Yeah. Auraria.
Aurora.
Yeah, make just get it.
All right.
Be like, hold it for life.
Aurora.
Hold it for life. Kidding. Oh, it's too important. He's like, I've been
Don't
there.
judge me.
We're not-
Judging.
Should we just should we just end the like live stream and just kind of open it up to just a Google Hangout?
Oh, yeah, well.
Do you guys have anything to do?
I don't really have anything to do. I have to ride home.
Oh,
You
wait.
have to be at work at 8.
I didn't
I have tomorrow off. I love. Honestly, like it sucks that I started a week earlier, but at the same time, I'm not really starting.
All right, for any of you guys watching, we'll end the live stream now, but we'll open up the. Wait.
1 second. 1 second. Southwest is
The best.
Yeah, we're stopping the broadcast now, but we're gonna post the link to the Hangout so you guys can come hang out with us. Okay, bye.